We're going to get started shortly here, just giving everyone a chance to port in. Okay, it is 12:01, so we're going to get started here. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the live Remote Proctor Success Tips information session. So we are the National Commission for Health Education Credentialing, also known as NCHEC for short, much easier to remember. And so we are the credentialing body who offers the CHES and the MCHES examinations and certifications. And we handle the maintenance of your credential as well once you become certified. So this afternoon, we're going to provide an overview of the live remote proctor testing modality, which you'll sometimes hear us refer to as LRP. And then we're going to be available to answer any questions that pop up in regards to the LRP modality, and along with an expert from our test vendor, PSI. So for the purpose of this webinar, if you can limit your questions to the LRP process. If you have other types of questions, that's great. You can certainly email us or call us after the presentation and we'll help you with whatever they might be. Before we get started here today, I want to just go over some simple housekeeping just to ensure we maximize our time. So as I mentioned, at the end of today's presentation, we're going to have time for a live Q&A where your questions on LRP will be answered. But if you want to go ahead and post your questions when they pop into your head into the Q&A box, that's great. But just know we're going to hold them to the end and then go through those. First up, I'd like to go over some introductions of who will be presenting today. First up, we have Tanya Cole. She is NCHEC's CHES exam coordinator and office manager. Tanya has been with NCHEC for over 20 years, and she reviews exam pre-screens and exam applications for eligibility, and she'll work very closely with you to get you registered and ready to test. And Tanya also works closely with our test vendor, PSI. And so also joining us today is Elizabeth Ferris. She is PSI's Client Success Director. And Elizabeth is super knowledgeable about the ins and outs of LRP testing, what happens on test day, what to do, what not to do. But now I'm just going to hand it right over to Tanya to kind of jump in with our presentation today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. So live remote proctoring, or as we refer to it as LRP, is a non-invasive test option that allows exam candidates to be allows the exam to be completed from anywhere within the PSI Bridge platform using a personal computer. It's an easy-to-use platform and allows the same standard security protocols as implemented in PSI's Global Test Center network. PSI Bridge is both Windows and Mac compatible. Exam candidates must use the Chrome Google browser in order for your system to be compatible, and also perform the compatibility check before registering for an LRP appointment. One thing to note is that certain software and devices are not PSI Bridge supported. So please do that system compatibility check before actually scheduling your LRP appointment. And we will throw a link in the chat for that compatibility check. And then I'll also be sending LRP communication early next week that is also going to have all these different links in it so you can do some extra testing if need be. And then once you actually schedule your exam appointment, there's a tutorial exam link within that appointment, and that checks for administrative rights and software support. So to test with LRP, certain requirements must be met to have a successful exam experience. We will be going over these next 6 sections over the next couple minutes and slides to help you have a positive testing experience. So we're going to go over the system requirements, the technical requirements, your ID requirements, your environment, which is the background and like the type of room that you should be in, the system compatibility and tutorial differences, and then accessing your exam. You can go to, yep. So for technical requirements, there are certain requirements that must be met to have a successful exam experience. As we mentioned in the previous slide, it's extremely important to use a personal laptop or computer that has full administrative rights. That is what's necessary for you to be able to launch the exam. So school or employer issued devices are not recommended, and in most cases, the student or employee does not have those full admin rights on the device. So if you're using a friend or a family's device, please also make sure that you've been granted full administrative rights, or it may prevent you from launching the exam on testing day. So when booking your exam appointment through PSI and choosing remote proctoring, this testing requirement screen will appear. This test takers will need to acknowledge the system requirements, administrative access, and the testing environment before finalizing your appointment. There also is a link here when going on to schedule that you can also do the just the regular systems requirement compatibility check. And then the tutorial exam again will be used like after your appointment is scheduled, and we'll have a screenshot of that in a little bit. So this is online proctor test requirements, and it goes through step by step of what is required and has the compatibility test within this before you actually schedule your appointment. And then for the system requirements, first is to use the online compatibility check. And then that's a basic check for your operating system, your hardware, like your microphone and your camera and your internet bandwidth. It does not check for administrative rights, which that will be in the tutorial exam test. One thing to note is that this system compatibility check is not the same as the tutorial exam that you're actually going to use on testing day to grant access into your exam. Please also note that the system's available for testing day. You may want to retest your system a few days before the test, just to double check and make sure that nothing was updated on your computer or that something would not be working. On test day, your device cannot have any secondary applications or programs running in the background, as it could interfere with a successful launch of the exam. Tablets and Chromebooks and mobile devices are not an authorized use to actually take the exam on. So it would have to be a regular personal laptop or a desktop computer. Firewalls and security settings from employer or universities issued computers may also prevent the PSI Bridge software from operating properly. And then for an updated system requirement list, we'll also put the link for the LRP page in the chat, which has a lot of different information on system and technical requirements that are needed for your computer. So after you've actually scheduled your exam appointment, there is what we call a tutorial exam available. This checks for prohibited programs and administrative rights. You're not able to complete this prior to scheduling your appointment. You must schedule it, and then this will be available in your actual appointment. And you're only available to run this 3 times. So after it's ran 3 times, there is no other option. This cannot be reset. So again, you have a maximum of 3 times to run this exam. So, you could run it once now and possibly once the day of or the day before your test to make sure you're still able to get into the exam. So they will perform this at the start, this same test at the start of the check-in process, at the time that you check in for your exam. The proctor will request to take control of your screen momentarily to do this check-in. This is a normal and important process that protects the security of the exam. And again, this check can only be completed 3 times per scheduled exam, and it can be only used if you actually have your appointment scheduled. So PSI recommends that you promote both the system compatibility check and the tutorial exam um, before and after scheduling your appointment, to help prepare for the online remote proctored exam. So this is a screenshot of the tutorial exam link that's going to be located within your scheduled appointment. So you would log into your portal like you were going to launch the exam, um, which you can access this through the NCHEC portal. There's that link that says schedule, reschedule, or cancel. This will take you to the same place. So if you have a scheduled appointment under that Manage tab, this is what's going to show, and this is where you would go to actually launch your exam, and then also where you could go to test that launch tutorial test in here. And again, this is like the same test that the proctors will use on the day of check-in. So the tutorial exam and compatibility check differences. So the system compatibility check, which is completed prior to the exam, would only check basic requirements like the camera, microphone, operating system, your internet connection, just basic things like that. And a word of caution to test takers is that your bandwidth can change on the day of your exam to the day that you're actually testing your computer. So you should also check that on the day of the exam, and other individuals in the house using your Wi-Fi, like gaming or streaming, sometimes could affect it, the bandwidth of the exam and your computer. So it's advisable not to have anyone doing any, major things like that at the time of your exam, just so you're, able to get that full bandwidth. And then the tutorial exam, it's only available to the test taker when the appointment is scheduled. It checks for the background programs running and if anything else is open. It also checks for security programs to ensure that your exam will launch. And it also contains some practice test questions to see how the actual system will look when you go to take the exam. So again, it only is allowed for 3 times to test this tutorial exam. And then each attempt allows 15 minutes. And then at that time, the tutorial terminates with an expiration message if you don't do this in like your allotted time. Don't do the test within the allotted time. And then photo identification. So your photo ID must match the first and last name used on your exam registration. So you would have to have a government ID, passport, or driver's license or state ID. And the first and last name must match what is in and what you have used for your exam registration. So if anybody doesn't have what's exactly on their ID, you can reach out to me and we can get that updated, because we'll need to update that within your testing for remote testing. The proctors will not let you into the exam if your name is not matching your ID. And again, it's just the first and last name. They don't check middle names or anything like that. It's just first and last. And military IDs can't be used to take the LRP. It would be, again, a valid passport, unexpired state ID, or your driving license. So test takers and check-in specialists sometimes struggle with the photo ID capture during your actual check-in because they are currently tasked with using webcams that tend to have low resolution and are difficult to focus. The result in that documentation artifacts are often difficult to read and may require special additional steps to get a legible artifact. Mobile device cameras are easier to manage for capturing documents and tend to have a higher resolution. So the goal is to leverage those aspects of mobile devices to provide a higher quality artifacts for your check-in specialist at the time to save some frustration. So this can be done actually during your scheduled appointment. You would go in and you can upload a photo ID, take a picture of any of your IDs, and usually the resolution is better again on your camera, on your phone camera. So if you didn't do this during the check-in process, there is an option that you can go back and log into your appointment, and your photo ID, you can upload it even after you scheduled your appointment. And again, that'll save the step of having to show your ID directly in your webcam during the check-in process. And it'll be clearer if you would do an upload from your phone. So once you type your name and information in there, the rest of this information will show, and that's what gives you the instructions to upload your ID. So one of the LRP requirements is that the test environment is in a private and quiet area. So no interruptions means that it is highly advisable that your room should have a door. It's not required, but it should have a door, and that no one should enter the room while test taking is in place. And, this does include, children or any type of family. The proctors will terminate your exam if there's any other physical disturbances in your room. And please note that you must have the capacity to complete a room scan before launching the exam. So this means that you would need to either pick up your computer or your webcam somehow and scan different areas of your room to make sure it's clutter-free and, there's a private environment. So to access your exam on testing day, you can go to the launch link provided. That's going to be in your confirmation email of your scheduled appointment. And I believe you are also sent a reminder within 48 or 24 hours of your actual testing date. So this information should come again with the launch link to get into your exam. But you can also, again, get into this exam to launch, logging into the MCHES portal, and then there should be a link on there to schedule, test, or cancel. That takes you to the same place. So that'll take you right into the same place where you can do the tutorial exam and to launch your exam on testing day. If you log into your link and try to access this more than 15 minutes prior to the exam, the launch link will not show. So in order for that launch link to show, you actually have to refresh your screen. So you can't log into your exam and click that launch link 30 minutes beforehand. It will not be highlighted. And if you just wait, that launch link will never appear. So you have to refresh your page up to like 15 minutes prior to your test, and then that launch link will show. And then if your computer has any other applications running, you'll be prompted to close them. If you have not already installed it, you will need to download and launch the PSI Bridge system. So our next slide here, we're going to try to get a brief video of what to expect during the live remote proctoring experience. And again, all these links will be included with a communication I'll be also sending out next week.
Welcome to our short test taker experience video, designed to help you take your test with confidence and ease. At PSI, we have years of testing experience, and we've developed secure online proctoring to ensure your test is as fair and stress-free as possible. Whether you are taking your test in a live online proctoring format, with our online proctoring team monitoring the video connection in real time, or in a record and review format, where our proctoring team will view the recording after you have taken your test, you can be sure that we are dedicated to providing you with the most secure and easy testing experience. so you can focus on what matters most, pursuing your dreams. Before test day, there are some things you need to prepare to ensure your testing experience goes smoothly. Choose somewhere quiet and private where you won't be disturbed. The area should be well lit and clutter-free. You'll need a desktop or laptop computer with a webcam and microphone. Please check the PSI website for complete hardware and software requirements. Use the system compatibility check on our website to make sure your computer is suitable. The system compatibility check link is publicly available. According to your test sponsor's configurations, you could also have the opportunity to run through the tutorial test, a testing simulation that will allow you to become familiar with the check-in steps, security protocols, and the testing environment before test day. On test day, when you are ready to start your test, please go to your test registration platform and refer to the documentation there to log in. You should receive login details when you book your test. You'll be asked to complete these simple steps as part of your check-in process. Test your microphone and webcam. We will check to ensure no prohibited programs are running. Take a photo of yourself and a valid ID to verify your identity. Your photo ID must be government issued and must have a photo. Military IDs are not accepted, and school IDs are generally not recommended. When capturing identification materials, you may be able to link your mobile device to your testing session through a QR code, making it easier to capture your identification card. You will be asked to wait for a few minutes while a check-in specialist validates your photos and identity. When checks are complete, you'll be guided through the admissions process according to the rules of your exam. This may include a room scan with your webcam to ensure your testing area is appropriate. Additional room and accessory scans may be needed. When the admissions process is complete, you'll be connected to an online proctor. You should carefully examine the rules of approved artifacts for your exams, as food, drinks, pens, paper, or mobile devices might not be permitted during your test. During your test, our online proctoring team will monitor your session through screen share, webcam, and microphone. This is to ensure your test is fair and going smoothly while protecting your privacy. At the end of your test, the system may indicate if there are any unanswered questions that need reviewing in your test. Then you'll be asked to confirm you're ready to end the testing session. Depending on the test you're taking, you may get your score immediately, or you may receive information about how to get your score. If you have any questions or concerns, please visit our website or contact our 24/7 customer service team through phone, email, or online chat. We're here to help you succeed.
Just to let the people know, the video went away in the middle. I just dropped in the chat. It's the Wistia.com link so that you can view it on your own time. It's got the captions in it as well. Apologies for that.
And anyone who is signed up for LRP already, this link will also be included within the communication next week. It's going to have a lot of information on technical requirements. It's going to have a guide that you can look at, and then it will also include this video. So if you're not quite sure whether LRP is right for you or you're anxious about meeting the LRP requirements, please note that you can reschedule your test to be completed at a test center. It is recommended that you reschedule as soon as possible or at least more than 40 hours prior to your scheduled exam, as test center spots may be filled up or will fill up quickly. And you can reschedule by logging into your NCHEC portal and using that same schedule, reschedule, cancel link that's there, and it will take you right to the PSI website to change anything that you would need to change. If you have any issues or any questions about rescheduling, you can always reach out to me and I can help to do any rescheduling or answer any questions that you would have. So, a
Did I go
recording,
one too far?
that's okay.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, I'm at the next
There
slide,
we go.
yes.
Okay.
A recording of this presentation will be available for all participants within about a week. So everyone that is signed up and registered for this webinar will get this link emailed to them. And then again, if you have any questions about exam eligibility or your testing, you can please feel free to reach out to me. We'll throw my email in the chat and I'll be happy to help.
Okay,
And I
so
do see, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
oh yeah, I was just going to say we're going to move on to the Q&A now. I see questions coming in, and I will grab the first one here from Christian. It's a question about, is it okay to take the test at a local library? Will that be a problem?
It depends. If you are getting a private room at the library that doesn't have a, a window in the door, so if people walk by, you can't see anybody, and you're using your own laptop and you're just like getting that room, then technically yes. If you are using a library computer, that's going to be an issue because you don't have admin rights. So you need to be somewhere where people can't walk by or see into the screen. So I just don't know what that setup is, but that's going to be my advice. It's going to depend on what your situation in particular looks like.
Awesome. The next one I see is, we get this one a lot too. Would it be a problem if a desktop computer is present in the testing room? Although the individual is taking the exam on a laptop, there's another desktop computer there.
So technically no, because it's turned off, right? I know it'll be turned off. It'll be a black screen. I will say sometimes though, in a good way, our proctors are very security conscious. So when in doubt, I would actually cover it with a sheet. So that way there's no doubt whatsoever. You don't have to move it. You don't have to do anything. Just make sure it's turned off and cover it with a sheet or a pillowcase, whatever that would kind of do, a blanket. So there's no question, and then you won't have to mess with it. That's my best advice.
So, and Megan asked about different types of clutter and what might be acceptable versus unacceptable, books, papers, writing materials on your desk.
There is nothing acceptable because everything can be used to cheat. Even though I know you're probably not going to cheat at all, but there are very much nefarious actors out there and you'd be surprised what they use. So you can't have a Kleenex box. You're going to be asked to remove a Kleenex box, a pen holder, just shove everything in a box or put it on the other side of the room. Don't even put it under your desk because you'll have to do a scan under your desk and you can't have that stuff under your desk either. So it needs to just be your mouse, your keyboard, if it's not an attached keyboard like for your laptop, and like your mouse pad, and that's it.
And then for the bookshelves, sheets.
I would just cover it with a sheet. Yeah, again, we don't want to make you do anything, but we also do have to worry about security. So just cover it with a sheet. That's what I would do.
Yeah. When in doubt, sheets are your friend.
Yep, they are your friend. Yep.
Okay. Yes, and that was the next question was about putting over sheets to reduce clutter and that. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about breaks. Are there breaks available if we need to use the bathroom in the middle of LRP?
So we do have a break policy, and this is for LRP and for testing sites. So we have blocks. This is also explained in the CHES exam or MCHES exam handbooks and on our website. So your first block is questions 1 through 83. You have to complete that entire block and then you can take a break. You don't have to take the break. But it is optional. So you can have an optional 10-minute break, and then you would come back and enter the second block of questions, 84 through the end of the exam. You cannot go back to the first block. So once that first block is done and you go into the break or get to that break part, there's not an option to go back into that first block. And I just want to mention that I know sometimes during testing, we do have these issues. When you are taking the break, you must let your proctor know that you're leaving the room. So when it's time for break, please let your proctor know that you would like to take the break, and then they will authorize your break and also when you get back. Because if you just get up and leave the room, they're going to terminate your exam because they're just going to say you got up and left and walked away from your computer. So they will terminate unless you do let them know that you are taking that break. And it can only be after that first block, after question 83.
Yeah, and two other things to note. To what Tanya said, there's section 1, which is the first 83 questions. Once you go to your break, which is section 2, you can't go back to the first. The break is a section, and then section 3 is the second half. So I think it notes that sections 1, 2, and 3. So just it can be confusing. So I want to call that out. The other thing I want to call out is it is a very strict 10 minutes. So I'm going to advise take a 5-minute break because if you are even 30 seconds to a minute past that 10, your exam is terminated. So it is a very, very, very strict 10-minute break. Just word of warning.
And I see a second part to that. Does break times differ based if someone has an accommodation? Or is the
Yes.
break time? Okay. All right. Great. Are we allowed to have an empty white page and pen or pencil?
No.
No, there's actually a whiteboard that is in the exam itself. So it's programmed into the exam. So there's a whiteboard that's integrated, is the word I'm looking for. It's integrated with the exam already. So you can use that whiteboard that's integrated at the time you test.
Awesome. Okay. We have someone with blood sugar concerns and needs some amount of food or snacks. Is this allowable? Do you
I'm
need
going to
an
say reach out to
accommodation?
Tanya directly because that might be something where a potential accommodation is needed and it's got to be worked out a little bit differently. So I'm going to say reach out to Tanya to discuss that directly.
Yeah, because no food or water is
Allowed.
allowed during the exam. So if you would need to have stuff during the exam, it does have to go through as an accommodation.
Mhm.
I have another question with a person with allergies. Are Kleenex acceptable to have?
So technically not on the desk, but if you have, technically no, because we have found people will write answers on Kleenexes and put it back in the box. That is why. So technically they are not allowed. You could use your break to the best of your ability or go across the room and use your Kleenex there, but technically, no, it's not allowed,
Good to know.
unfortunately.
I'm going to answer this question here. I wish you could look at both the testing center and remote schedules at the same time instead of rescheduling only to lose that spot. So you would not. So if you already have a scheduled appointment, say for remote testing, and you want to go see what testing sites are available, you can log into reschedule, go through the process, put your zip code in, and it'll bring up the available testing sites. It does not reschedule you until you actually go through 2 more screens and actually confirm the appointment. So if you're in the middle of looking at testing sites and just close out of it, it's not going to reschedule you. You're going to have that same original appointment. So again, it's not going to reschedule you until you actually go through and confirm that appointment.
Um, Here's this question I was looking for.
I do
Have
see
you?
the hotel rooms.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, you can absolutely. We have people that take it in a hotel room because it's a private room. You know that nobody will walk around, right? And walk through. That is absolutely a feasible option if that's what works best for you.
great. What about using a laptop that's connected to a monitor? This individual has a Mac Mini that runs onto a monitor.
You sh I'm going to be
I don't think
honest. I
so.
don't think so. Yeah, I mean, because you can't have two monitors. So if the Mac
Because, yeah.
Mini has its own monitor, I am not a Mac person. So that's why I say that I'm not 100%. So if the Mac Mini has its own monitor, you can't use the secondary monitor. It's only the one. And now I'm going to go Google what a Mac Mini looks like. So,
I,
because I don't know.
it's not an issue if the camera is embedded in your laptop. I think most laptops do come with the camera embedded. They would just ask you to pick the laptop up and scan your room and probably scan your desk and what's underneath. So you would just have to pick up your laptop and scan around the room.
Here's an interesting one. How about an Apple Watch? It seems we all have Apple Watches these days. That would probably be a no.
That's a no.
Okay.
Take it off before you start testing.
Yeah. So can you use your sleeve if you can't use the Kleenex?
I mean, yeah, yes, yes.
You,
I mean,
you do what you
yes.
gotta do,
You do
right?
what you got to do. And I will call out for everybody. I do apologize for such strict rules, but please note that the things we have found that the links people will go to cheat is eye-opening. And it really messes it up for those few that really go to those links, really mess it up for the rest of you that we know are not going to cheat and are studying really, really hard to do your best on this exam. But we have to be careful. We have caught people having long beards and they have cameras hidden in their beards, in their belt buckles, on the back of their watches, like I said, on Kleenex boxes, on Kleenexes, on pieces of paper. We've had people try to write answers on their fingernails before, and we've caught them. So it's bonkers what people do. So this is for the security of the test. But I'll just say sorry.
Yeah. This is for Tanya, I believe. If there's an emergency the day or night before we test, or if we are sick that day, can we reschedule? And if so, how can we do it?
So if you're not able to take the test, so NCHEC does have policies. There is a no-show policy if you would not attend the exam, or if it's within 24 hours. You can't cancel your exam within 24 hours. It would be considered a no-show. Again, there is that $150 charge for the next exam testing window. NCHEC does waive those fees for extenuating circumstances and emergencies. So we would need documentation and a written request for the waiver of the fee for the next cycle. There is a little blurb on our website about emergencies. We do just handle them accordingly on a case-by-case basis.
Still getting a lot of questions about those laptop screens and connected to monitors and like having the laptop screen shut.
You cannot.
No.
Yeah.
So
You
your
can only
laptop
use-
is considered a screen.
Mhm.
So the testing does not allow second screens. So your laptop screen is actually considered screen one, is your main screen. So you would not be able to have any other monitors attached to your laptop.
And
the
then
system will know that. Those checks will tell us that there's a second one attached. So we will know and understand that.
And then for there's a person that mentioned they have vision issues they would need to reach out to us about an accommodation. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
The test, I do believe, though, does enlarge fonts automatically.
It does.
So-
Yeah, you can change the font. It depends on what that
Yep.
issue is. But if you do have
Yep.
questions, I'm going to say reach out to Tanya. But yeah,
Yes.
there is a way to increase the size
Okay.
For those that might just need a slight touch for a reader, yes, you can increase the font.
I'm just going to go through and answer some of these, Jess. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
go ahead. They're getting, yeah, some of them have been answered already,
I can
so
try. We have 20 minutes, so let's
yeah.
I'm just going to try to go through some of these. Scheduled to take the exam. Will I receive an email 3 days in advance to check compatibility and tutorial exam? So you will get your reminder within, I think, 24 or 48 hours of the exam, but the compatibility checks are all available now. It's on our website. We have an attachment on our website about LRP testing. It's on the PSI website. I did put that link here in the chat. So it's PSI's website, test taker resources. It has all the information in there that you need, all of it. In my environmental resources, it has videos on that. It has the LRP testing. It has all the compatibility checks and testing requirements. The tutorial exam, which is the second one, can't be used until you actually schedule your appointment. So if you have a scheduled LRP appointment, that tutorial exam is available in your appointment. So you would just log on like normal, like you were going to schedule your appointment, and it will be there to use for testing. And if you have any questions or need help navigating that, just let me know. Just reach out to me and let me know. I did answer the one about the embedded
There's
black camera.
Yeah, and there's like two or three, I think. So if you have an accommodation for extra time, that doesn't mean you get extra breaks. You still only get the one break. You
Yeah.
have to ask and receive an accommodation for an additional break if you have the extra time. So it's almost like a combined accommodation or two accommodations. So you can get extra time and the extra break, but so that's why. I just saw a couple of those on there
Yeah.
about asking about that. So yes.
It's still after question 83. So the break is still given at the same time. And
Hmm.
understanding that your time does not stop when you take the break. So your allotted 3 hour time limit is your allotted 3 hour time limit, and the 10-minute break is included in that 3 hour time limit. It does not go over an extra 10 minutes. So that break is embedded in the time. Can we have a clear glass of water or printer in the room? Clear glass of water they will not allow because no food or drink is allowed in the room. And then a printer, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Just to be safe, I think Elizabeth would just suggest covering it
Yeah.
with a sheet or putting it on the
Yeah.
floor.
Put it on the floor. Make sure it's not anywhere near, if it's on the other side of the room, well far away, then that's fine. But again, when in doubt, cover it with a sheet or a blanket and just leave it where it is then. If it's directly behind you, definitely cover it.
There's some questions about
Um,
the level of background noise, like what's acceptable and what is the limit of that.
I mean, if there's so I mean there so technically I don't want to say it needs to be dead quiet, right? Like we don't want to hear so if you think about it as a television in the background, that's background noise that we don't want to have because we can't tell if that is somebody trying to cheat or not, and we have to err on the side of caution. So that's my way to best explain it and to gauge is television in the background. That is going to be iffy. And so if any background noise might look like that, then and if you don't have an option, then this might be a time to consider taking it in person instead, just to be safe.
And then someone asked if there's additional cost with taking a live remote proctored exam, and
there's not. It's
yeah.
yeah. Registration was already paid for. You can just go schedule your exam to take either remotely or in person. Trying to look at it.
I see one about stretching. You are not going to be able to get up and stretch while taking the exam except for during that 10-minute break. And to Tanya's point, then alert the proctor via the chat that you're going to be, even if during your break you just want to stand and stretch, that's totally fine during that 10-minute break, but tell the proctor you're getting up from your desk. Whatever you do during that 10 minutes is then up to you. But you can't get up to stretch during that section 1 or the section 3, which are the first half of the questions and the second half of the questions.
And there was a
So,
oh, go ahead.
sorry.
Sorry.
No, I just
However,
wanted to
if you
say
have a
that,
standing desk, that's okay too. Just calling that out in case that were to come up. But if you do, if you have a standing desk and you're kind of like kicking your legs around, that's fine.
the exam is 3 hours. You have a 3-hour time limit to take the exam. Shoot, there was another question. The first part of it will be instructions, which is not included in that 3-hour time limit. So you'll be able to look at the instructions and get a feel for the exam itself. And then once you start the exam, it's a 3-hour time limit. Break is after block 1, after question 83. You can't go back to that block. Optional 10-minute break, and then you go into the second block. There's 165 questions, and 15 of those are pilot tested questions. So you'll be graded on 150 questions for the exam. No food or water can be in the room unless you have accommodations. And these are standard security protocols. It is a national certification exam, so they do follow the same security policies as most other testing facilities for national certifications.
Okay, there was a question about jewelry, wearing jewelry. I'm assuming that's a bad idea.
I mean, no, you can still wear rings, like a ring, or a necklace, or
Okay.
earrings. That's okay. It's the reason why like a smartwatch, like a Fitbit or a Apple Watch or something like that is because it can be connected to your phone. That's why that's not okay and allowed because it's technically considered an electronic device.
Glasses are okay,
Mhm.
obviously, right? Yep. Okay. Uh, Someone asked about a power outage, and that kind of goes with, along with those emergencies, but I assume that's happened in the past. So, how is a power outage in the middle of your exam happened, and what to do if that happens?
So if it happens, and it has happened, it could happen, especially in April where we go into storm season, right, across the United States for part of it. So if it's a quick power outage in and out, you probably won't really lose connectivity, or you will for just a quick second and you'll get right back on, right? Kind of off and then back on. You should be okay. But if you do lose power and it takes a couple minutes, I would write down the phone number for our technical support, and keep it on a post-it and like put it on the other side of the room and call technical support and say, I just lost power in the middle of my exam, and this happened, it hasn't come back on. So if you call our technical support, they're going to know that and they're going to note that in your in the system, so we know that you didn't just like leave the exam unexpectedly, and they'll help work to get you reconnected with your proctor to continue your exam. So I would also, just to be safe, have your computer plugged in if you have a laptop. And so make sure the battery's charged and have it plugged in. So if you do lose power through the plug-in, your battery is fully charged. So you still have that. That's what I would recommend.
There's a question here about the in-person test centers, if they have different rules on water, food, stretching, that sort of thing.
No, it's the same. The in-person testing is at a secure PSI testing facility. So you're going to be in a room with other individuals that aren't necessarily testing for the same. It's, national exams that use this vendor, but no, food and drink are not allowed in the testing center either. Results should come within 4 weeks after the window closes.
I just saw one. Oh, Elizabeth is typing an answer. Someone asked, how long does the accommodation process take and how do I start the process?
I'm saying please reach out to Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to start the
Yes,
process, there's an accommodation link within your authorization to test email. So if you've been approved to take the exam, that link is in that email, and that will take you to PSI's accommodations request. You have to fill out a form, provide doctors um, what the doctor authorized for your ADA accommodation. So they have to be, approved by the doctor. And follow the ADA regulations. And then, honestly, I don't think it takes long. I mean, within a week or so to do that. But if you already have a scheduled appointment for accommodations and then you go to request, I mean, if you already have a scheduled appointment and then you go to request accommodations, you have to probably reschedule your appointment because if you have an appointment with regular time and then you request additional time, you're going to have a whole new date and time because they have to find that block available, that longer block available. I don't want to say was, but there is a policy that we normally require accommodations to be requested by the end of the registration, which was a month ago. So at this point, if you do decide to request accommodations with our testing vendor, I can't guarantee that you're going to be able to find a new testing date. So at this point, we're only like 2 or 3 weeks away from testing. So I just can't guarantee that your accommodations are going to be approved and that you will be able to find an appointment that will gear around your accommodations in that time. You could, I mean, it probably won't take more than a week or two, but at this point, it's not a guarantee if they're just going to be requested now.
And I kind of want to call it because I see a lot of questions, right, about water and issues in this. I understand, right? We all sit at our desks all the time with our water. But to Tanya's point, we work with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of certifications and licensure people, programs across the country. This is standard regardless of who's doing the testing to generally not allow water or food. And it will be okay. I worry about that too. And so I just want to say that I know it's kind of a pain. But you'll be fine for that hour, hour and a half ish is kind of about what it breaks down to right before your break. And then you'll be able to go drink water and then go have the rest of it. So it is standard protocol. So it's a worry, but I promise it'll be okay.
One last question here on the library issue. I assume it's from the same person before.
Mhm.
They found a private room, but they don't know if it has a window or not. Is that okay, or should they go scope it out?
I would scope it out. Truly, I don't want to tell you, oh, it's going to be fine, because if it's not, and it's not as secluded as you think it is, or they consider it secluded, but it's not, then you're risking having the exam turned off. And I don't want that to happen unintentionally. So I would either change my mind and take it in person, um, maybe take it in a bedroom or something like that. Or yeah, take it in person instead of remotely, or go check it out in advance and see if you can do that.
And then the last question we have is on the exam scoring. Tanya, I don't know if you want to, or anyone wants to speak to that pass rate, that sort of thing.
So there's a whole bunch of information on our website about how the exam is scored. The results are sent in scaled scoring. So you're going to have a proficiency level for each area of responsibility. The exam is technically graded on the difficulty of the exam questions. So after the exam is given, there's a statistical analysis that's ran, and then the exam is graded and scored. So we do grade on scaled scoring. And again, a lot of that information, there's a background and scoring information link on our website. But you can reach out to me directly if you need to, and I can help provide that information.
Okay, I think we're gonna wrap it up and give you guys 4 minutes back. And appreciate everybody that joined today. And just to let you know, the link to the video will be mailed out next week. So thank you, everybody.
Thank
you.
Yep. Take care.